Schools are being encouraged to teach writing in all subject areas, including maths, science and even PE, to address a long-term decline in skills. The Australian Education Research Organisation has spent the past year trialling new resources in response to analysis of NAPLAN data, which shows many Year 9 students are writing at a primary school level. Rebecca Birch is the Year 7 English teacher and academic in residence at an independent Sydney girls' school that participated in the trial, and she is with me here in the studio. Hi there, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Why do you think this is happening?
I think this has been a long time coming. I think writing has been a bit of an orphan capability in the syllabus and curriculum. It's been about 30 years where schools have felt that writing should be a whole school responsibility. And I think when you spread that responsibility across a whole school where nobody's actually trained to deliver that instruction in writing, you're going to end up with a failed policy. So I think it's been a long time coming. The resources have been in the making for a few years, and I'm really pleased to see that they're out now and the teachers can access them and use them.
What are the sort of things, the skills that the children in Year 9 don't have that they should by that stage?
I actually think it's things like basic punctuation, knowledge about what a sentence actually is, what the component parts are, how to use them and how to express complex ideas. So I think if they're not getting even the basics right, it's going to be very difficult for them to then be able to express really complex thoughts and write a cohesive piece of writing.
So the idea is that you do it in virtually all subjects, that there's a little bit of this writing language taught. How does that work in something like maths? How can you run them together?
Maths is less so, but every other writing subject ends in some kind of big examination where students have to do a really long body of writing in some form or another. So I think it's really important to have it across every subject. I will say that I think the initial responsibility for that explicit teaching belongs with the English teacher, and then those writing activities can go to the geography teacher, go to the history teacher, and those teachers know that the heavy lifting has been done in English and they can get going and build upon what students have already learned.
I'm thinking the school that my boys go to, you have to bring your own device. Does doing so much on computers take away some skills as well?
Yes, there's a fair bit of research around handwriting being superior to typing. That has sort of cognitive benefits as well. So, for example, students are able to not only remember content a little bit more, but have a greater conceptual understanding, like a fair amount of weeks after the initial exposure to content. So there's a real impact on memory as well. So I would really argue that schools, revisit handwriting as a primary mode of student communication.
Yeah, I mean, there's other benefits as well. You mentioned memory, but fine motor skills.
Definitely fine motor skills, and I think students are starting school, like early primary school, without a lot of those really fundamental skills as well. So things like oral language, gross motor skills and fine motor skills. So school's really a place where they can develop those skills, and I think it's important to continue it into secondary school as well.
Rebecca, there would be those that would argue, why do we need to bother writing anymore? Because we can do everything digitally.
I have heard that argument, and I've heard that with regard to AI, but I think we have to look at writing as more than just a mechanism for putting words onto paper. It's a means of self-expression. It's a way that students can think critically about material. It's a way to enhance memory, and I think it actually helps us to be great communicators with our own ideas and not have everything flattened by very, very bland writing. So I think it's really important that we keep writing alive so that students know the difference between good and bad writing, and they can think critically about the material that's been spat out to them by AI.
I'm wondering as well whether our use of phones all the time is detrimental to the niceties, if you like, of the English language. So many words are shortened, abbreviated, there's slang words. My boys don't use punctuation marks because why would you on a text that actually that's detrimental?
Yeah, I think teachers have a real responsibility to communicate the difference to students between the way we communicate, say, on phones or in the playground, and the way we need to express ourselves professionally. So really looking ahead to when they're going to be in things like jobs in the business world and making that real distinction between the sophistication of written language and oral language and its substitutes on things like phones.
Very interesting. Rebecca Birch, thanks for talking to us.
My pleasure.